Since a human has set foot on Earth, the universe has always been the biggest mystery. And why wouldn't it? Who wouldn't like to know more about the huge dark space we live in? But unfortunately, it got a bit more mysterious in the past week. But let's quickly solve another mystery before we start the video. Who are we? World's News is a channel dedicated to delivering news on a weekly basis. Within each video, we try to pick out the most important or funniest news and explain their origins, development, as well as possible outcomes to inform you about the world you're living in. Oh, and we won't be able to upload the video next week, just so you know. But let's dive into the latest news about our universe. It's been a while since we talked about science on this channel, and I know that science itself doesn't interest too many people, but this thing is so groundbreaking that I couldn't leave it out. So, all sorts of scientists have always tried to find an explanation for the origin of life as we know it and the universe as a whole. Many incredibly intelligent people dedicated their life to this question, knowing that they are unlikely to get an answer to that. But simply knowing that they brought humanity a step closer to an explanation was enough for them to give it all they had. The most popular theory for that is the Big Bang Theory, which traces its roots back to Georges Lemaitre in 1927, and it was first publicly mentioned in a BBC radio broadcast in March of 1949 by English astronomer Fred Hoyle. But the term Big Bang did not catch until the 1970s. Now, one last thing before we get into physics too much. Even though I'm really interested in these kinds of things, I know many people aren't. But since I'm the one writing the script and practically doing everything else as well, you'll have to live with it or skip. But maybe it's time to give science a chance to become a part of your life. Anyways, as I was saying, the Big Bang Theory is a physical theory, keep this wording in mind, that describes how the universe expanded from an initial state of high density and temperature. There are various models of the Big Bang explaining how our universe got from the earliest known period through its subsequent large-scale form. These models offer a more or less comprehensive explanation for a broad range of phenomena. These are, for example, the abundance of light elements, the cosmic microwave background radiation or CMB radiation, and large-scale structure. And it solves a few other problems as well. But if that doesn't mean anything to you, that's absolutely no problem. You don't have to understand these terms to realize the gravity of this news. Now, remember what I said earlier, it's the Big Bang Theory. That means that it wasn't proven yet. And same goes for the theory of evolution by Charles Darwin, by the way. But this isn't today's topic. So if the Big Bang actually did happen and the universe was constantly expanding, we'd have to see some signs for that. One of these signs is an optical illusion which would be created by the universe expanding further and further. When moving away from galaxies, they shouldn't continue to look smaller and smaller with increasing distance. In fact, if you move past a certain point, they should be getting bigger and bigger. Apart from that, galaxies were thought to grow via merging with other galaxies. This would leave some battle scars on the resulting galaxies, and there'd have to be many small galaxies as well. But to everyone's surprise, most big galaxies appear to have relatively smooth edges, therefore ruling out the merger theory. And on top of that, this means that these large galaxies have never been tiny. And that basically denies the existence of the optical illusion I talked about earlier, which means that our universe does not expand. And I really hope you're still following me, we are almost there. So we know that our universe is measured with light years, so if we looked as far away as the universe is old according to the Big Bang Theory, which is around 13.7 billion light years, we should see fewer and fewer galaxies until there's just nothing, since there was nothing before the Big Bang. And that nothing is also called the Dark Ages of the cosmos. But the thing is, that just doesn't happen. In fact, there are 100,000 times more galaxies than expected, which also proves the Big Bang Theory wrong, since there couldn't be anything before the beginning of the universe. So, looking at the facts, there couldn't have been a Big Bang, and scientists already have a new theory, which is plasma filamentation. But that's way too much to be covered here. And to be quite honest, this is enough physics for today. So the main point you should take from the past minutes is that the Big Bang Theory was proven to be false. And now that that's out of the way, let's move on to something which is a bit easier to understand. Something like the Russo-Ukrainian war, for example. Well, it isn't actually easier to understand why Putin started it, but it's easier to grasp what's going on there. So, do you remember the mass grave which the Ukrainian military dug out in Bucha? Well, they just found another one, this time in the city of Izium. As the Ukrainian forces liberated that region and advanced past the city, they made a terrible discovery in a nearby forest. They found wooden crosses, most of them marked with numbers. People at the scene estimated that there are over 400 bodies buried at the site. Mikhailo Podolyak, a senior advisor to Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, said that many places of mass burials had been discovered in some areas liberated by Ukraine's military. Now, several teams from different institutions have been sent there to help exhume and identify the bodies, as well as their cause of death, and to determine whether those killed were civilians or military personnel, because that would actually make a difference in whether that's considered a war crime or not. And that's about it from the situation in Izium. But once we hear news about the bodies, you will too here on World's News. And that's actually it for this week. I know, last week I said that we would probably cover 3 topics this week, but there was quite some time spent in the Big Bang topic. And I'd like to remind you once again that there won't be a video next week. So yeah, let's move on to this week's bonus fact. Japan probably has the highest density of vending machines in the world, with 1 for every 40 people in the country. While there are normal vending machines selling various types of beverages, others are a bit more special. There are vending machines selling pizza, ice cream, noodles, or even disposable cameras.